Hello everyone, this is Damien. This is going to be lesson number 20 of Beginner's C++, and today we are going to be talking about classes. And classes are objects. There's two primary types of objects in C++. There are structs, which we really won't be talking about very much because they're almost exactly the same as classes. And then there are classes, which are actually just called class, so I will call it a class instead. So, I want to give you guys a definition of what an object is before we get started using them, and the proper definition of an object was given to me first when I very first started programming by my Java teacher, a wonderful woman by the name of Professor Cedarberg. And she said, an object is a thing that holds stuff. It's a pretty good working definition, believe it or not. And if you keep it very simple like that, you won't get horrifically confused. A lot of people seem to overcomplicate objects in C++, Java, any language. So here's the basis. Type in the word class. Typically you want it to be outside of a namespace like main because you usually want them to have file-wide scope. There are times when you'll define a class inside of a header and you'll use driver files and stuff like that, but that's not going to be this lesson. So our class gets a name. So typically a class defines a type. It's a type of object. And the best way to think about this is you're going to have multiple variables that help you identify a thing. So in this case, let's make a class called car, because a car is a thing that we can all identify with. So what does a car have, right? A car has an int, which would be the number of windows. Forgot my semicolon. It would also have an int for wheels. It would have double for, let's call it fuel economy. And the reason I chose fuel economy is because I'm going to do miles per gallon. Some of you others might be doing liters per kilo. However you want to factor that is up to you. But those are just some basic attributes of a car. So when we want to create a car inside of our main function, what we're going to do is we're going to do car, and let's just name this Honda, because that's a type of car. Or let's be more specific. Let's call it a Sonata, which is what I drive. So we create a car, we call it Sonata, very specific type of Hyundai. And let's see, my car has 4 wheels, so we'll do Sonata.wheels equals. Oh, actually, I can't do it quite like that, so I'm going to have to do public. And we'll get more into what public is in a minute. The choice of class is why it has to be public. So again, we'll get into that. Dot wheels equals 4. Same thing with windows. And let's just do fuel economy as well. It's about 27.5 miles per gallon. Okay, so if I now want to see out this, the HYUN Hyundai Sonata has Sonata.wheels, wheels, Sonata.windows, windows, and gets Sonata.fuel economy, MPG. Okay, so we're going to output that, and oops, forgot my system pause at the end. And as you can see, this is not a tremendously, I should do an endl at the end of that. This is not a tremendously impressive program. It does exactly what you think it would do. And there's nothing special because there's objects here. So let me sell you guys on why objects are actually good. So it's kind of cool that all these live inside of the same object, right? So if I insert a breakpoint and I run this, I now have a Sonata with windows, wheels, and fuel economy all within the same object. So that means that I can pass objects of type car into functions, which is cool. But what's cooler is that I can actually make this contain functions. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let's do a void function called figure MPG. And that's going to take in an int. Actually, let's do a double and another. Let's just do it here. Double miles driven, double gallons of gas. And so the miles driven, so we'll take a fuel economy equals miles driven divided by gallons of gas. And we can set it just like that. So instead, now maybe we'll want to do something like this. See out, how many miles can you drive on a full tank of gas? Let's create double full tank miles, cin for full tank miles, do another C out. Oops, did not mean to do that. Okay, so what am I going to ask here? How many gallons of gas does your car hold? And we'll do double max gas equals, and then cin for max gas. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do just like this. We're going to do Sonata dot figure MPG, and we're going to pass in full tank miles, comma, max gas. And we can still run this same function, or the same program again. And it's going to ask us how many miles did we drive. I don't know, 350. I think my car holds around 18, more or less. And so that actually figures it out for us. So that's an example of how we can put a function that relates to our program inside of an object. But there's also something that's a little bit more interesting. It's called a constructor. So constructor is basically telling your program how to create this object. So now every single car, and I mean car, I don't mean truck, I don't mean tractor trailer, I mean cars. So every sedan, every minivan, every SUV, every, truck, pickup truck in general is going to have 4 wheels. So that's kind of a given. So where we set this, maybe we want that set by default. So we can do this right here. We can do car, car, just like that. And then we can come outside of the object and define that car, car. And let's do wheels equals 4, windows equals 4. And so let me explain what this means. This means that if I make a car and I don't specifically say what wheels and windows are equal to, it's going to set it equal to 4. So let's give that a run. And again, it's about 350, 18. And as you can see, that has now been set to have 4 wheels and 4 windows automatically. But let's say that there's some weird exceptions, right? There's always that one guy you know who has the big truck that's lifted with, 4 wheels in the back. So he's a special case. So we're going to do car, and he's going to get int as arguments that he can pass to it. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to copy this whole thing to save some time. And he's going to pass in int wheel, int window. And wheels is going to equal wheel, and windows is going to equal window. So now that is probably very confusing to you guys. Let me explain. Wheel, in this case, is being passed as an argument sometimes. So right now, where this doesn't have any arguments, and by arguments I mean the same thing as a function, just like that. Like you can do 19 and 5 if you want. These are arguments. So if I don't have that, it searches the constructor list and finds the matching constructor, the default constructor, meaning it has no arguments. So then, if it matches this constructor, meaning we pass it with 2 integers, then it will automatically assign the first one, which we've called wheel, to the number of wheels. The second argument will be named windows and will be passed to windows. So now that we've changed that, we can actually set this to private. And we shouldn't run into too many problems. Actually, this part needs to be public. Why are you complaining? Okay. Anyways, so we can do just like that. Oops. And oh, yeah, I can't do that because I'm not going to set up a setter and a getter right now. I'm not going to have time before the end of the video. So for now, let's leave it at that. Instead, let's change this to pass in 6 wheels, 8 windows. And as you can see, we'll do the same thing, 350, 18, and cool, so that works. Now, let's make this one little bit more interesting. And let's make a constructor that takes in int wheel, int window, and then let's do double total gas, double, actually total miles, double max gas. And then we can actually do this. We can call a function. We can do figure mpg, comma, total miles, comma, max gas, just like that. And so now we have to make this up here, comma, double, and just like that, we're now able to skip this entire input-output thing and simply do like that, 350, 18, and all of a sudden, it does it for us. So as you can see, objects have a great deal of uses. They have an amazing amount of flexibility in what it allows you to do, what it allows you to pass into your object, etc. So okay guys, for now we're going to stop this here. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. For homework, what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to alter this so that any of these will set the miles per gallon, even if this does not pass it in a specific number. So change these constructors so that they're going to set the miles per gallon. And how you do that is up to you. All right, good luck.